points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
On a night that we remember the parting of the Red Sea, the Jets team defense parted to the Flames' sea of red too many times, resulting in a 3-1 Flames victory. Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe. Welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show, and a happy Passover to all those who are celebrating that great holiday where the Jews were no longer slaves in Egypt so many thousands of years ago. Hello there, Mr. Ginsburg. It's a pleasure to see you on this Wednesday evening. A happy Passover to you and your family, first and foremost.
Absolutely. And happy Passover to you and your family and everybody who celebrates. And even though I wasn't on the post-game show after the Jets-Devils game, I did watch it. Yes. I know you guys don't necessarily think that I watch it. I watched it, the replay, because I was busy doing my parenting thing. So I did see that you were eating Girl Guide cookies. And unfortunately, my Girl Guide cookies are long gone. So I have something else here that I'm going to eat a little bit of. I've got some matzah here. So
there you go.
Eat a little bit of matzah throughout the show because we're Jewish and celebrating Passover. So
we are. I had no idea. Nobody has informed me about that over the years. So there you go. A nice little dry cracker to talk about the Winnipeg Jets Calgary Flames game that just concluded in downtown Winnipeg.
I love matzah.
Opportunity.
I eat matzah all year round, by the way.
Do you? You're a big matzah fan?
Yeah, why
not? Put anything on it? Do you put
butter. Always butter or jam.
Okay.
Or actually cream cheese too.
Cream cheese, butter, jam. Okay, so you covered
all
the
butter, ketchup.
Peanut butter. So basically, you'll put any sort of condiment on your matzah and call it a snack.
I would kind of say that I stick to the cream cheese and the butter.
Okay, that's good because it's a pretty dry.
It is.
By day number 5, day number 6, that matzah is basically just turned into a clump of drywall in your lower intestine.
Yeah, if you're not going to eat it, you can also use it to sand a table, right?
That's true. It's true. You have a lot of options that you can use your leftover matzah for if you don't want to eat it. Look, Ezzy, this was a huge game. We know what the impact of this game was. That's funny from our buddy Spencer Sutton saying he likes matzah burgers. That, of course, being an A&W treat. I like a matzah burger as well.
Spency knows.
Yeah.
A little matzah burger, a little onion rings, a little root beer. Nice little Wednesday night.
I can't have root beer. Root beer gives me a headache. I don't know. Really? I used to love root beer, but whatever's in root beer, it immediately gives me a headache. Like snap my finger.
You don't want to drink it if it's giving you a headache. Root beer is not my top. Once in a while, I'll you know me, I like my Diet Coke, but root beer. I probably drink at least 2 Diet Cokes a day. I need to cut back on that for sure. Drink a little bit more H2O, a little more agua. Yeah. But root beer is probably, a little bit down on my soft drink preferences, probably a little bit below, Sprite and Dr. Pepper.
Oh, I like Dr. Pepper. That's right up at the top of my list. Is a good old fashioned Dr. Pepper. You can't go wrong with anything like that. That's my go-to. If anyone's interested in buying me a case of soft drinks, Dr. Pepper would be my preference. But as per usual on this post-game show, we digress.
Yes.
But for a game of this magnitude, we'll try and keep the digressions to maybe the latter half of the show and talk about a disappointing result, a disappointing third period by the Winnipeg Jets, an opportunity to affirm themselves as a playoff team. Had they been able to win tonight, we know what that would have done in terms of the playoff standings. That would have put them in a commanding position over the Calgary Flames and a fairly commanding position over the Nashville Predators, who are in town, of course, on Saturday. Instead, the Jets cannot rise up to the moment. They cannot match the emotion and the intensity in that third period. And as a result, they drop an absolutely massive decision at home to a Calgary Flames team that had lost last night to Chicago, that had the Jets been able to really the Jets they needed a better effort, I thought, in the third period. To me, they played like a team that was afraid to lose rather than a team that wanted to win in that third period.
I think that's fair. And, a lot of comments, we just showed a few. I see them in the chat here, the Jets being outmuscled, outplayed. Like, first off, give Calgary credit here. Like, that's inexcusable, Drew, to lose to the Chicago Blackhawks. Like, I realize the Blackhawks, they're playing the role of spoiler. They're playing for their own pride, but the Flames have to win that game and have to win that game at home because, as you say, this game, it's that classic 4-point game, like we've, been calling it on our social media accounts, like a game 7 or, a playoff game, everything like that. And it really was the most important game of the year up until this point for the Jets, right? Obviously the game on Saturday is going to be the new most important game of the season, right? But yeah, like the Jets could have essentially, put the Flames out of their misery here if you're able to go up 4 points. And we should also, point out that, the Jets have the tiebreaker. We mentioned that on the Saturday show with the regulation wins. So the Jets are essentially, 1 point up on the Flames. If the Jets and Flames, remain tied, we know who's going to get the tiebreaker, right?
Well, and you know who's got the easier of the two schedules for that. There's no question about that.
The only thing is that the Flames are just going to run out of games, right? And you're right. They have Vancouver, San Jose, and Nashville.
That's right.
So the Jets have Nashville, San Jose, Colorado, Minnesota. So just based on, those last two games, obviously San Jose is one of the weaker teams, but they've beat the Jets twice this year, right? So it's going to be a very interesting end to the season. And as a hockey fan, you love to see meaningful games at the end of the regular season. But for Jets fans, I don't think that, they like this too much because, if you were able to beat San Jose once, or, you think about a bad team like Columbus, who the Jets lost to, like the Jets really shouldn't be at this point where, we're at game 79 of the season and, they're still having to, clinch a playoff spot because most of the other teams, across the league have clinched a playoff spot, right? Obviously not, the teams at the bottom, especially, you look at that Eastern Conference playoff race, same thing, right? Florida, Pittsburgh, the Islanders battling. But look, I think, the first period was pretty good for the Jets. I mean, it wasn't perfect. And obviously, they take a couple penalties, but they kill them both off, right? And then Kyle Connor, we'll get into it in the Betway game recap here, but, they score a power play goal and they have the lead. So, again, it wasn't a perfect period,
right?
But it's pretty good for a team that hadn't played since Sunday, right?
Well,
the Flames were obviously fresher, right? Yeah, exactly. You want to play with the lead. That's been an issue for the Jets over the last however many games. Let's call it 15 to 20 games here, maybe even longer.
Right.
But it was, again, it was a bit of a weird game in the sense that there wasn't a lot of even strength flow. You had a lot of penalties, but aside from the Kyle Connor goal, no team could take advantage, right? So the Jets were perfect on the penalty kill, pardon me.
Right.
So in that sense, you really like that, but you also don't like the fact that the Jets weren't able to bury any of their power play opportunities either.
Well, look,
aside from the Connor goal, of course,
right? Of course, aside from the Connor one, which of course they scored early in in the second period. Pardon me, on the second penalty, the Milan Lucic where he was in the box for the double minor there. Look, a game like this where you have Calgary playing on the second half of a back-to-back, a game that is filled with penalties is to their advantage because the penalties were fairly even, of course, as we know. It wasn't like the Jets had 10 power plays and the Flames had 2. A game not played at 5-on-5 is always going to favor a team that is probably going to be the more tired of the two teams. There's less skating involved in a power play special teams heavy game. It's going to be to the tired team advantage. I didn't love the officiating, but I didn't love the officiating from both sides. I'm not saying the officiating was responsible for the Jets' defeat. I just thought the referees were too involved in the game.
And also, you called Jacob Markstrom earlier in the game,
right? And
then later in the game, he's doing the same type of nonsense. He's doing that Jordan Binnington type of, punching guys, pushing guys in front of the net. So Markstrom, and they were really good battles. Like Pierre-Luc Dubois, Markstrom obviously going at it, Dubois and Chris Tanev, who missed, I think, 5 or 6 games, and now he's been back in the lineup for a couple games. So I really liked how engaged Dubois was. Adam Lowry's another guy. He was all around the net, getting in Markstrom's face. But, Yeah, I mean, there were a few calls where, like I'm not talking about, the Dubois Rasmus Anderson thing. And I think it's kind of funny that Anderson, I'll give the Jets fans I'll always give Jets fans credit, but I love the fact that they kept booing him throughout. You thought maybe that would only be the first period, but second period, third period, the Jets were giving it to Rasmus Anderson, and look at, I mean, that was bordering on Dubois. I mean, they showed it multiple times, and you'd like to think it was just incidental contact or just a fair shove, but yeah, you're right, Drew. I mean, there were some penalties where
I just thought that
the refs could have let that go.
Yeah, they were just too involved in the game, and I mean, they were too involved for both teams. So that they called it tight. I mean, now is this a game that you want them or expect them to call tight? Well, who knows? Some games they call it tight, some games they call it loose. You never really know which way NHL officiating is going to go. I just thought that this was a game where that they were maybe too noticeable. Not to use that as an excuse for the Jets' performance, because frankly, the Jets throughout the game, Calgary got better as the game went on, and the Jets didn't. When it's a 1-1 game after 40 minutes, which is what it was, and we'll get into the goals in the Betway game recap, you want to see the push in the third period. You want to come out strong in the third period, especially a Jets team that has had a very soft schedule as of late, that they haven't played in a number of days, that they've had multiple days off, whereas Calgary flew here late. Calgary got stronger as the game went on. I thought the Jets were tentative in that third period. I thought that this is another game. Look, the Jets only score one goal. They don't score anything at 5-on-5. Now, a lot of the game wasn't played at 5-on-5, I admit, but you want to see the Jets seize the opportunity.
Sure.
Yes, Calgary's the more desperate of the two teams. There's no question about it, because they know that a loss, if they lose that third period, that basically ends their playoff chances. But if you're the Winnipeg Jets and you're in your dressing room after 40 minutes and your legs should be pretty fresh, you have to be saying among the players, we need to go grab what's there. It's low-hanging fruit. Let's go take that low-hanging fruit. Let's go run them off of our home ice and send them to the golf course for the rest of the year. And the Jets didn't do that. And I think that's a significant opportunity lost, because right now, with Jets having 4 games to go, Calgary having 3 games to go, it's anybody's ball game. When you're tied in the standings, and the Jets have the tiebreaker, it's anybody's game. I mean, look, if Calgary were to win out and their schedule is, not that difficult as we talked about, there's no reason why they can't win out, aside from the fact that they just lost to the Chicago Blackhawks for a third time this season. What does that mean if Calgary wins out? Well, that means that the Jets have to win at least 3 out of their last 4 or win out themselves to be in a playoff spot, which is a lot easier for me to say than it is to see the Jets actually do.
Yeah, sure. And to your point about, the push from the Jets in the third period, Kelly Rudy mentioned that, at a certain point in the third period, kind of, I think towards the, past the midway point, around the midway point of the third period, about the Jets push. And look at, like, we talked about the power play, and there were some opportunities. And you remember Nikolai Ehlers, he had the breakaway with, what was that, 2.5, 3 minutes left, something like that. The puck was rolling though, but it was a really nice pass by Blake Wheeler. Mark Scheifele had a chance in the third period. Pierre-Luc Dubois had a point-blank chance on the power play. Like, there were chances. Jacob Markstrom was really good. That's not something we'd mentioned. For those who didn't know, he did start the game against the Blackhawks. We should also mention, Drew, you mentioned the soft schedule for the Flames. The Flames don't play until Saturday. Right. So they can't move ahead of the Jets points-wise until Saturday, right? So just thought I'd mention that. It'll be nice. I always like it when both teams are playing in the same day, as opposed to a team goes ahead, even though they would have, I guess, the Jets would have 2 games in hand. But you're absolutely right. I mean, the Jets, the game is very important on Saturday. It's not a must-win game.
Well, but these are all must. No, I disagree. These are all must-win games. I mean,
I just didn't want to use must-win because I feel like it's such a tired cliche. But yeah, you're right. They have to win all of these games, and you want to start with Nashville because, like we've talked about so much, if you beat Nashville, you're controlling your destiny. If Calgary wins, and then let's say the Jets lose, just for the sake of the argument, then you're not in control of your own destiny, even with the game in hand, right? You're chasing. Yeah. So this game was very important, and Calgary was the more desperate team. And, I did think that, Scheifele, Connor, and Dubois were better earlier in the game. I didn't think that, they had any, let's say, dominant shifts in the third period. And I'm not saying that they had a bad game. I'm just saying that they definitely weren't as good as they were against the Devils or the Red Wings, for example. And, look at this was what Paul Maurice used to call a grinder, right? Like this was like you said, Drew, this was a tie game, a 1-goal game. And then obviously the Zadorov goal was the killer, the quote unquote insurance goal, right? Yeah, it was the backbreaker. But yeah, I mean, there wasn't a lot of sustained pressure. And look, give Calgary credit. I mean, say whatever you want about Calgary. And you can say a lot of negative things about Calgary, such as they've lost to bad teams, such as the Chicago Blackhawks 3 times, including last night, or the fact that, they just can't seem to win in regulation. What do they have? 14 overtime
15,
or 15 overtime shootout losses, which is 5 times more than the Jets have.
Yeah.
But they've still got a lot of talent, right? Tyler Toffoli's having a great year. I've always liked Andrew Mangiapane. He scored Calgary's first goal. I really like Mackenzie Weegar. Like a couple of years back, we were talking about Weegar. Like, I think he would be perfect for the Winnipeg Jets. The only problem is he signed an extension with the Flames. He's not going anywhere, but I really like Weegar's game. We talked about Rasmus Anderson. He's a solid defenseman. Noah Hannafin, Chris Tanev. Like, they're not a Stanley Cup contender, but they're a solid hockey team. Like this, we forget this team was picked by most people to make the playoffs. Some people even picked them to win the division.
Sure.
They
had such a great year. They had such a great year last year that they've been. It's been such a. And now, granted, it's a whole. A lot of the players are different after the offseason trade of Kachuk and everything else to bring in Huberdeau and Weegar. But the season they've had in Calgary has been very disappointing, no question about it. And you wonder about the future of Daryl Sutter there and everything else. But that's for a Flames post game show to break into detail about. But from the Jets' perspective, this was an opportunity. I mean, so here's where we're sitting tonight. The Jets have 78 games played, 89 points. The Flames, 79 games played, 89 points. Nashville, they play Carolina tomorrow. And every time you think that Nashville's done, they rise up. Every time last night, second half of a back-to-back, they on home ice, they somehow find a way to beat Vegas in overtime. Again, Nashville just doesn't seem to want to die, even though they've been written off since the trade deadline. Well, if they're able to do something tomorrow night against Carolina, which would certainly be an upset given Carolina's place in the standings, all of a sudden, Nashville comes to Winnipeg 1 point back of them entering Saturday night's game, having played the same number of games. I mean, and again, if you look at the Jets and you look at their performance tonight, I don't know why all of a sudden that killer instinct that was not there today is necessarily going to be there on Saturday. That's why this is such a disheartening loss from my perspective. It's not a season-ending loss because they are still in a playoff spot. But when you have an opportunity to step on the throat of an opponent, when you have an opportunity to demonstrate that necessary killer instinct, you should have a better performance than the Jets had, particularly in that third period. That, to me, is the concerning part, the tentativeness, the inability to rise to the occasion, particularly in the final 20 minutes, Ezzy.
Sure. And we talked about, the referees probably calling one or two many penalties, but who it was Vlad Nemestikov and Brendan Dillon, if I'm not mistaken, that took the tripping penalties. Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So what does that do? I mean, that just, it not only does it take you out of the flow, but you're killing penalties now instead of, tying the game up.
Right.
So, it was not the sharpest period of hockey, right? Like we talked about it, like the Jets started off like the first period, the second period, they were in this game and they were in the game in the third period. I just didn't like, the way they managed the puck. I just didn't think that, they were desperate enough. And, again, you get some chances and, whatever chance you want to point to. And there was the Josh Morrissey chance when he didn't get the best first opportunity, but then you remember he got a backhand rebound and he couldn't beat Markstrom. We mentioned the Ehlers breakaway. Like there were some chances. I mean, this wasn't what you would call a high event game. Like this was not the, 7-5 win over the Oilers or the 6-1 win over the Devils on Sunday.
Right.
But whether you want to point to the missed opportunities on the power play, whether you want to talk about, just the fact that they didn't have enough zone time and pressure in the later stages of the third period, whatever. I mean, you got to give the Flames credit. They were the better team tonight.
Yeah, in the third period especially, they went out and took the victory. And kudos to them for doing that. The victory was there for whichever team wanted it more. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it's, the Jets just weren't able, as I said, to rise and take advantage of that. A function of the game being played 5-on-4, function of the Flames just taking advantage of their opportunities when the Jets couldn't. Look, this is a Calgary Flames team that has been horrific defensively. They've been giving up, even before the Chicago game, when they played against Vancouver and when they played against, I think it was Anaheim, if I'm not mistaken, they were giving up 4 goals a game. They were winning games 6-5, 5-4. And then to somehow come here and pitch a shutout at 5-on-5 is, problematic from a Winnipeg Jets perspective. And that's probably the most charitable word that I can use, would be problematic. And now it'll be curious to see how the Jets bounce back from this disappointment. Opportunity missed by the team, but they can't take too long licking their wounds. They have to get back at it against a Nashville Predators team on Saturday that has certainly been feisty. And if you don't match the effort of the Nashville Predators, you're going to lose to them. It's that simple. Nashville is not more talented than basically any team that they're playing against, but their effort and their commitment and the UC Soros factor has been enough to keep them in a race that they were written off of many a week ago. And that'll be what the Jets' next challenge is sort of taking this loss and channeling it and using it as motivation on Saturday, where motivation and effort for this team has not always been where it needs to be. Let's get into the game recap, Ezzy. It's brought to you by Betway. It's called the Betway Game Recap. Betway is one of the most trusted voices in sports betting, both in Canada and all around the world. Betway is the sports betting app that puts you, the customer, at the forefront. With a large selection of betting options and sports, as well as strong promotions and fair odds, what are you waiting for? Head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Please play responsibly. As you mentioned, the Jets open the scoring. Their only goal of the game, the only power play goal of the game, despite there being roughly 400 power plays in the course of this contest. It's Kyle Connor, his 31st of the season, assist to Nikolai Ehlers and Pierre-Luc Dubois. It's a tremendous seam pass by Ehlers, tape to Connor, and Connor makes no mistake wiring his shot past Jacob Markstrom to give the Jets a 1-0 lead at the 11:42 mark of the first period, Ezzy.
Yeah, you mentioned the seam pass, and it was a beauty pass.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everything that you saw on this power play is what we've talked about, for the last however many months, that you would like to see the Jets do on the power play, right? Like, everything was quick. There was an intent to this power play, right? Like, Scheifele and Connor started off by bringing it into the zone. And then Dubois does some good work and gets it back to Ehlers, and you just like everything about it, right? Like, you like how it was purposeful, is what I would say. Nice pass by Ehlers, nice shot by Connor, and again, quick. And it seemed like at times, and I think there's a lot of similarities actually between the Flames power play and the Jets power play, because the Flames power play, it's one thing if you're getting chances, but you're not getting the breaks, or Hellebuck is playing really well, but the Flames, it's kind of the same thing, like a lot of passing on the perimeter, kind of indecisive type of play. But on this particular play, yeah, this is the Jets power play at its best. And again, we talked about it. I mean, coming off of the 2 penalty kills early in the first 5 minutes, then you get the power play goal. Like, this was at the point of the game where things were going really well for the Jets.
Yeah, well, they get the early goal. They get the lead early in the game, which is what you want against the team on the second half of a back-to-back.
And they were sharp, in their own end as well. Like, the Flames didn't, like, I can't really remember any good scoring chances. Like, maybe, hopefully the chat, if I'm wrong, and I often am wrong, will help me out here, because I can't remember if the Flames did have any good scoring chances. There were probably only 1 or 2. And like I said, I kind of had the game on, had to rewind it a little bit, putting the kids to bed because of the early start there. But I can't remember many good scoring chances for the Flames in that first period. And you could chalk that up to having played the previous night, but I thought the Jets were really sharp. Like, that was a very good not only, first 10 minutes of the game, but I thought it was a good first 20 minutes of the game, highlighted by that Kyle Connor goal on the power play.
Yeah, and that's what the Jets wanted to open the scoring like that, and they did. And we have to talk about how close they came to making it 2-0. Because if this becomes a 2-0 game at any point in time, then it's probably a different story altogether. But think about the Nate Schmidt breakaway opportunities where he gets somehow a number, 2 breakaway opportunities in a row, and he's not able to capitalize on them. And one of them, he sort of runs out of room and he puts it off the side of the net. And had one of those opportunities resulted in a goal for the Winnipeg Jets, then this is, I think, a completely different game to my mind. Instead, the Jets aren't able to get that goal to extend the lead. It's 1-0 after 20 minutes, so the first period ends with the Jets with that 1-0 lead. They are not able to extend the lead, and they miss out on a great opportunity when they had an odd man rush in the third period, seconds before Andrew Mangiapane makes it 1-1 with his 17th of the season assist to Mikael Backlund. This coming at the 6:06 mark of the second period, it's a little bit of pond hockey, it's a little bit of back and forth, it's some exciting action with odd man rushes both ways. The Jets get so close to scoring, they're not able to do so. The Flames go back the other length of the ice, and Mangiapane, who's really been, has done a number against the Jets lately, gets another one. As I said, his 17th of the season.
Yeah, just before getting into the Mangiapane goal, because it was obviously a really nice pass,
right,
by Mikael Backlund. But I really would like to have seen Mark Scheifele shoot on that 2-on-1. I think a lot of people were thinking that as well. And look at, Scheifele is a distributor as well, but that was just something I wanted to throw in there. Like, I thought that was a great opportunity for Scheifele to shoot and give Mark some credit, because I think that it was just, I think Scheifele it was like an extra half second that he gave Markstrom, and it just kind of slowed the play a little bit down. I thought, easy for me to say, right? But yeah, like you said, the Flames go back the other way. There's tons of ice there.
Sure.
And Mike Backlund makes a really nice pass, and I don't have any problem with the way Dylan played that 2-on-1. I mean, there's just a lot of room there. Mangiapane's a sniper. I'm not going to fault Hellebuck there, but yeah, I mean, that's what happens when the game opens up a little bit, and the game did open up in the second period. That's kind of what I was getting at. The first period was not wide open. The first period was it was at times boring. Like you had the Jets and Flames, and there were some we talked about, the Dubois penalty, and there were some power plays, but wasn't exactly like the most riveting first period. The second period was much more wide open.
Well, the first period, just the first period alone had 4 minor penalties.
Right.
So, I mean, when you have 4 minor penalties, and yes, one of them ended up with a 4-on-4 for a couple seconds, it's not going to be a lot of flow to the game, because it's, man advantage, a little bit of 5-on-5 man advantage, a little bit of 5-on-5 man advantage, a little bit of 5-on-5.
And those Flames power plays were pretty bad. I think they only had 1 shot on both of them.
Sure.
So, I mean, and give the Jets credit, like, Manalainen and Stenlund, we'll maybe get into that a little bit later. Manalainen, obviously, when Zadorov scored the first period goal, it was off of a Manalainen turnover, but I thought he was really good on the PK. That was the only change for the Jets. Manalainen coming in for Carson Kuhlman.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Jets penalty kill, I mean, we've talked about it. It's been something they can rely on. It's not like, the Jets have a couple of good games on the PK. The penalty kill has been good from day one, and give Rick Bowness and his coaching staff a lot of credit for that, for turning it around. But you're right. I mean, there wasn't a lot of flow in the first period, and there wasn't a lot of high danger chances either.
It was the high danger chances after 20 minutes were 2-0 at 5-on-5 in favor of Calgary. So you're absolutely right. There was not a lot of flow to the game, at 5-on-5. Should, of course, mention that before Mangiapane tied it up at 1, the Flames had a goal disallowed on a goaltender interference, where it looked like Zadorov had tied it up at 1, but the Jets challenged for goaltender interference. It was goaltender interference.
Why did it take so long, by the way?
Because it's the NA. I mean, when I say it's goaltender interference and you say it's goaltender interference, and 14,000 people at the arena think it's goaltender interference, the NHL can sometimes think it's not goaltender interference. So this one took a while, but I thought they did eventually get the call right in declaring that it was goaltender interference. But it definitely took a little, probably too long for comfort for a lot of people that were waiting for that decision to be handed out. But as I mentioned, Mangiapane ties it up at 1, and that's where you're at after 40 minutes here. And the second period had a little bit more flow, but the Jets have to be rueing again the inability to capitalize, on power play opportunities, because somehow against this Calgary team, a Calgary team that has not been very good in their own zone, not been very good defensively. I mean, they've given up 245 goals against this year, which is a fair number of goals against. They have
they bottom 10 in the league. I know that.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot of goals against. The Jets managed to not get one goal at 5-on-5 in tonight's contest, which is certainly a bit of a problem, especially for a team that maybe people thought were coming out of their goal scoring doldrums with their 6-goal explosions over the weekend against New Jersey and Detroit.
Well, that's really, though, Drew, the big question here for the last 4 games and potentially going into the playoffs for the Jets. Which Jets are we going to see, right? Like, are we going to see the team that scored 6 goals against the Red Wings and 6 goals against the Devils? And you can say whatever you want against the Red Wings. The Red Wings beat the Hurricanes the previous night.
Yeah.
And we know that at this point of the season, it's chaos. And I know you like the chaos, but
I do enjoy chaos.
I don't know how much Jets fans love chaos, because the Jets fans want wins right now. Jets fans want a playoff spot clinched right now. So that's really the question. Like, are the Jets going to be able to win these types of games? And I think the game against the Predators is going to be more like this game than it is going to be like, the wide open, free flowing hockey that we saw against the Red Wings and the Devils. So the Jets are going to have to win a game, possibly 3-2, 4-2 here. And you're right, Drew. I mean, the Nashville Predators, they've traded away a lot of their talent, but they have enough guys on their team. And, you're right. UC Saros, if he does play, I would expect Saros to play.
I'm
still
sure
a top 5 goaltender in the league.
Yeah.
And, it's a very good defensive team. So, you're not going to be able to beat the Predators with one good period. And that's really kind of, what we're getting at here. The Jets really only, I mean, I didn't think the second period was bad by any stretch, but I also wouldn't say that they necessarily won the period either.
No.
So, I mean, this was one of those games that was a tie game and it could have gone either way. And the Flames seized the opportunity and the Jets didn't. And even though the Jets did have, a few good scoring chances, it was more of what you saw on that West Coast road trip where the power play was letting them down, where they weren't scoring a lot of goals. And, they're going to have to find a way here. I do like the line combinations. Like, I don't necessarily know that you change that much at this point in the season with 4 games left. Like, how many different, personnel moves can you really make? I mean, this is the team. The guys that are, the way the lines are currently constructed now, they're going to have to get it done. I don't think there's not that many, tricks left up Rick Bonus's sleeve at this point.
The only one that's left is the one that so many people have been clamoring for, which of course is Dubois, Connor, and Ehlers. That's the one that hasn't been tapped on the shoulders since, for a long, long time now. That's the one that a lot of people think would have some success, but for whatever reason is not at the forefront of the Jets decision making. But I agree with you. I think this is probably, with 4 games to go, there's not a magic panacea out there.
No.
There's not like there's, some reinforcements coming up that are going to be the ones that drive you into the playoffs. It's going to be this group. This group has to be the ones to take control and say, we're going to be a playoff team. We're going to beat Nashville. We're going to beat San Jose. And then we're going to go win one of 2 games against either Minnesota or Colorado. And the truth is, we talk about the Jets schedule and how the Minnesota and Colorado games aren't the easiest, but both those teams could very well be in a position where they don't really have much to play for, where they might be in a position where they're locked into whatever playoff spot they are in at that point in time. I mean, it's too early to tell for sure what's going to happen there, given that Colorado, Dallas, and Minnesota all have 98 points.
Right.
So they might still be jockeying for some playoff positioning, but regardless of that, the Jets have to find a way.
They have to take care of business. They have to concentrate on one game at a time.
Sure, no question.
Beat Nashville, beat San Jose, and then you're right, Drew. Those games, you hope, especially the last game of the season, that doesn't have playoff. It's Colorado, I believe, right? The last game of the year.
Thursday,
so you hope that Colorado isn't playing for anything, because then that would mean, that they're not dressing, McKinnon or Rantanen or whatever. But you don't know. You don't know if the Jets might not have clinched a playoff spot by then, right? No, hopefully they have. But I mean, it's really tough to say. So I mean, Saturday is all you can really think about, right? And even though this game was disappointing, the Jets do still control their own destiny because they own the tiebreaker and they have the game in hand. So Jets fans can take solace in that they're still in the driver's seat.
Well, and it's incumbent on them though to find the way to match the effort of their opponent. Because if they match whatever effort that Nashville puts out, and they match whatever effort that San Jose puts out, the Jets should be victorious because of the fact they have more talent. It's the matching effort part that has been the problem for this team over the last number of games. It's the matching effort that was the problem for this team on that West Coast trip. And that's what they need to find a way, is to make sure that no matter what else happens, they don't get outworked by Nashville. They don't get outworked by San Jose.
Right. And, I don't know if we can kind of blend the second Calgary goal and the third Calgary goal together, Drew.
Well, let me talk about the
sure,
second.
Because to me, yeah, the Dewar goal, the Walker Dewar goal, I think some people might have thought that was Connor Dewar from Manitoba. No, that's not. That's Walker Dewar, who's from the hockey hotbed of South Dakota, not North Dakota.
Right.
But to me, the Dewar goal, Drew, is not based on, lack of effort. But the next goal, the Zadorov goal, I mean, to me, that's just not a good enough effort by Pierre-Luc Dubois. You go back and you look, and I watched the replay. He's behind the net, and he's just late. That is who should have had Zadorov. Zadorov was the trailer, but to me, that's what you're talking about. But the second goal to me was just kind of a fluky goal that, I think it goes off of Nate Schmidt.
Yeah, it's not a pretty goal, but it's a goal. It's a hard-working goal from Calgary's perspective. There's not much.
Sure, it's the fourth line.
Yeah, there's not much from the Jets' perspective that you're going to pinpoint as this is the problem with this one. The guy just whips it around the net and gets a lucky bounce. But at least he's there's a lot of traffic in front. There's a lot of bodies in front, and you get a fortuitous bounce. When there are skates and legs and sticks in the blue paint, good things are likely going to happen. And this one, it's not pretty. It's Walker Dewar just after the Nemesnikov penalty expires. So the Jets successfully kill the penalty. Walker Dewar gets his 7th of the year assist to Trevor Lewis, former Winnipeg Jet, of course, and Nikita Zadorov at the 4:08 mark. And the Flames have their first lead of the game, a huge lead, a huge goal for this team. And they lead 2-1 at that point in time. In the a few minutes into the third period. It's just about, again, you go hard to the net, you throw a puck towards the blue paint, and sometimes good things happen. It's a bit lucky, but you make your own luck to some extent as well. And so Walker Dewar and the Flames certainly don't need to apologize for that whatsoever.
No, and the thing that stood out to me on this goal was Trevor Lewis knocks Nate Schmidt down in front of the net. And you mentioned Nemesnikov was just back on the ice, like literally for 5 seconds?
7 seconds, yeah.
Right, 7 seconds. So he's kind of trying to get back into the play.
Yeah.
And Josh Morrissey is chasing Dewar around the net. Like I mentioned, Nate Schmidt's knocked down. Kyle Connor's there in front of the net, but he's not really picking up Trevor Lewis, right? So, I mean, and Hellebuck, some people were talking about, that second goal. Yeah, I mean, look, wraparound goals, you should never score on a wraparound goal. Like NHL goaltenders, rarely get beat by wraparound goals. And this wasn't your kind of classic wraparound goal because it doesn't go in right away. He kind of, he puts it on net, then it ends up going off of Schmidt. We thought originally, I'm not sure if they credited it to Trevor Lewis, but watching
they did
it live,
initially credited it to Lewis, and then they changed it to Dewar.
Right. So, I mean, And look at, I mean, there was a little bit of chaos in front of the net there, but like you said, I mean, he's working hard, Dewar. He's a guy who I believe spent the majority of the season in the AHL with the Calgary Wranglers, right? So he's a guy who, has taken a little bit of a longer route than most, I shouldn't say most, but some NHLers. And look, I mean, that was a big goal at the time. But that's one of those things where, I'm just going to chalk that up to a lucky bounce there.
Yeah, but a lucky bounce that only becomes a lucky bounce because you put that traffic in front. Dewar played 41 games so far for the Calgary Wranglers this year. I mean, he's got 26 points at the AHL level. He's got 11 points in 25 games at the NHL level. So for a guy who's an undrafted free agent,
yeah, you like to see that. I've always liked to see guys, that he played college, I think, with Minnesota State, if I'm not mistaken. I was checking out his hockey
Minnesota
DB.
State Mankato. Yeah,
didn't know a
exactly
lot
right.
about him, right? So yeah, like you always like to see guys, that persevere and not only make it to the NHL, but they produce at the NHL level, right? So he's a guy that, look at, he ends up scoring the winning goal in, one of the most important games of the year. So good for him.
Exactly right. And then, of course, the insurance marker comes at the 10:40 mark, 6 minutes and 32 seconds after the Flames take the lead. As you touched on it, but we'll touch on it again, Nikita Zadorov, this one isn't going to be disallowed. It's a great shot. His 11th of the year. He's an underrated defenseman, I find. He's got some offensive upside, and he's a big, tough sort of defenseman, but he's sort of got some underrated offensive playmaking ability as well. 2-point night for him. Great pass by Jonathan Huberdeau. Huberdeau with great vision. He's obviously had a down year. Secondary assist to Andrew Mangiapane. But Huberdeau, who's had a down year, still has elite vision, and he's able to find Zadorov as the trailer. The trailer is usually the most dangerous player on a play like this, and he comes in and he's unaccosted, and he makes no mistakes, sniping it past Connor Hellebuyck to give the Flames the 3-1 lead, which is where the game ultimately ends.
Yeah, I agree with you on Zadorov. He's not a guy that I liked earlier in his career with Colorado, but he's turned into a good defenseman. Like, I don't know, if you consider him a top pairing defenseman, but he's a bona fide top 4 defenseman. And I agree. I mean, we talked about the goal that was disallowed earlier that should have been disallowed. But what I didn't like about this, I forget who it was, if it was Scheifele or if it was Morrissey. There was a pass that just went into the Flame zone, and it just wasn't picked up. And what I didn't like about this goal is how passive the Jets were, just in all facets of this goal, right? Like, again, I've got the replay here up on my browser. Like, you look at Pierre-Luc Dubois, kind of swipes at the puck, and then he just kind of slowly, circles the Calgary net. He's completely out of the play. So what does Calgary do? They turn it up around. And like you said, and Jonathan Huberdeau has the puck on the right boards, and he sees Zadorov, the trailer, passes it to him. Absolutely nobody is around Zadorov. You see Dubois come in, at the last second, but that's just not very good coverage by the Jets, right? Like, that's a 2-on-2 situation where if the center picks up Zadorov, I mean, there's no problem there. And it's a nice shot. Like we mentioned, he's got 11 goals here. Zadorov isn't just a big, defensive defenseman. He's a former first round pick, I should say. So, I mean, he's a good player. But again, that's to me like that trailer's got to be picked up. And again, for those who are, in the chat right now watching, take a look at what Pierre-Luc Dubois is doing. Again, I don't want to single him out because I thought he was really good tonight, and he was drawing penalties and he was engaged physically and everything like that. He was getting scoring chances on the power play. But, to me, the way he takes that circuitous route around the net, I mean, he completely takes himself out of the play and isn't able to come back and pick up Zadorov on the back check.
That's exactly right. And he makes no mistake. And the Flames have a 3-1 lead. And yeah, the Jets had some opportunities after that, but I never felt desperation from the Jets. I never felt desperation in that final 10 minutes of this game that they need to get back into it and they need to find a way to scratch and claw. They had some opportunities and they threw some pucks at the net and there was some goal mouth scrambles. So I'm not saying that there weren't, but still there was something lacking in the response, I thought, which to me is a little bit concerning, a little bit of a red flag. Maybe there was a little bit of woe is me, woe is us from the Winnipeg Jets, which is to be expected. You slump your shoulders a little bit, but you still got 10 minutes in the game and you have a team that is not known as a defensive juggernaut. You got to find a way to just string it together one shift at a time. And I never got that sense from the Jets. Anytime that they had an opportunity, it was sort of one and done. There was not the consistent flow.
Yeah, there weren't consecutive shifts. And that it is a cliche, but like when you talk about sustained pressure and everything like that, and why coaches always talk about the importance of establishing a forecheck and everything like that, there just wasn't a lot of that in the third period. It was a chance here, a chance there, right? Like we talked about, the Ehlers breakaway will stand out, or the Morrissey chance will stand out, or Adam Lowry had a chance in close. Yeah. And, you don't want to take anything away from Markstrom playing, consecutive games, and he has been good. And we talked about it. The Flames are now 6-2-2 in the second game of back-to-backs, which usually the team obviously has a worse record in the second game of back-to-back, but not for the Flames, who seem to be, a team this year that just does everything the hard way, including winning in regulation, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't. You're nobody watching that game would say that the Jets left it all on the ice, right? Like there was more to be desired there.
Yeah.
But again, they have the game in hand, and they have another opportunity coming up on Saturday night, where they can really make it difficult for either the Flames or the Predators. If you beat the Predators on Saturday, the Predators are essentially out of it.
Beat the Predators, depending on if you beat the Predators on Saturday, you can say probably good night to Nashville. But you could have said the same thing about the Flames tonight. And
if you're up 4 and they only have 3 games left, I mean they have to win out, and you have to hope that basically the Jets lose 3 of their last 4, right?
If you beat the Preds, you're gonna, depending on what Nashville does tomorrow against Carolina. So that's the, of course, Nashville plays Carolina tomorrow, but let's for argument's sake say that they lose to Carolina. But I'm not saying that's going to happen for sure, because Nashville, like we've talked about, is very pesky and very, their commitment to staying in this fight has been admirable. But let's say that they do lose to Carolina. They'll have played the same number game of the Jets heading into Saturday's game, and depending on the result on Saturday, the Jets, if the Jets were to win in regulation, it'd be 5 up on Nashville with 3 games to go for both teams, and that's game over at that point in time.
Who wants to put a little cash down on Betway that Nino Niederreiter is going to score the game-winning goal against his former team? Wouldn't that be great?
I'm not putting anybody who's wagering on this Winnipeg Jets team, and anyone who claims to know which Winnipeg Jets team is going to show up on any given night is just an absolute liar.
It's like betting on the outcomes of like WrestleMania. You have a better chance doing that.
Honestly, I think you can logically know. Well, I mean, I probably would have said that Cody Rhodes was going to win on Sunday, but Roman Reigns obviously
the American Nightmare, Drew. Love it.
I mean,
love Cody Rhodes.
I would have bet on Cody Rhodes, which tells you why I shouldn't be betting on wrestling at any point in time, which I didn't, because the fact that you can now bet on wrestling is something that's a bit mind-blowing. But in any event, the Jets had the opportunity tonight. It was sitting there for them. They could have affirmed themselves. Really, really, truly affirmed themselves as a playoff team. Instead, Calgary affirms themselves as right in the playoff race with their 3-1 victory. Before we go to break, I should say that Kyle Connor's goal for the Winnipeg Jets, while you help yourself to a piece of matzah there, Big Daddy, is our Seagram's shot of the game. That goal came, of course, on the power play in the first period. Seagram's VO, masterfully blended, distinctly Canadian. Get your favorite Seagram's product at your local Manitoba Liquor Mart or wherever fine liquor products are sold. A big thank you to our friends at Seagram's for their support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Also, a big thank you to our friends at Betway. Of course, they sponsor the game recap and the title sponsor of the post-game show.
If I could just say one more thing before we head to break, and then we're going to come back and obviously do the contest.
Is it about matzah or is it about something else?
No, I wanted to touch on Pride Night. I mean, I think I got to give kudos to the Jets, True North, everybody involved.
Agreed.
Those jerseys were perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to be auctioning those off.
They are.
Okay, great, because I absolutely loved them.
Yeah.
I'm a jersey guy, but also just everything about
a Jersey guy and a New Jersey guy as well.
Yeah, exactly. But anything, and a Jersey Shore guy as well. But just everything about
the original situation,
right? Everything, yeah. Everything, just the way that True North and the Jets handled this.
Yeah,
that's the way it should be done. The players, class all around. So I just wanted to get that in there, and that's what every team in the NHL and everybody just in general should be doing, is celebrating the LGBTQ plus community.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to get that in there. Kudos to everybody in the Jets organization for that.
Yeah, I would agree exactly with what you said there, Ezzy. The players handled it. The players handled it very well. The organization handled it very well. They obviously did not get the result they wanted on the ice, but for an organization that has often suffered defeats off the ice as of late, this, in their handling of Pride Night, was definitely a win for this organization. So we would be remiss if we did not say kudos to everyone involved for that. So yes, kudos to True North north. Kudos to the Jets players for that in tonight's game. When we come back, more of the Illegal Curve post-game show. We'll do some contests. We'll do a Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. We'll read some of the post-game comments coming from the Jets dressing room and our usual shenanigans and nonsense. Drew Mandel, Ezra Ginsburg, Wednesday night. It's the Illegal Curve post-game show. We're live on YouTube. We're live on all of our social media platforms. Don't go anywhere and smash the like button while you're waiting to do something during these commercial messages.
Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the biggest acts and all the up-and-comers. They've all made their mark at Rumors Comedy Club, North America's longest-running independent comedy club. Rumors has kept Winnipeg laughing for over 25 years. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends or book your office or birthday party, even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
He winds up. Oh, looks like Ezzy took that one right in the choppers.
A blistering fast puck hurts like HE double hockey sticks. That's why I let the pros at Linden Market Dental Center turn my yow into
wow.
Get your brilliant smile back with state-of-the-art restorative and cosmetic dentistry from real pros.
And remember, always wear a mouth guard.
Now that's solid on ice advice. Learn more at lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Dave, my man, why are you in the car already? It's hours until game time.
Drew, it's because I'm stressed out right now, driving around downtown Winnipeg, looking for a parking spot, and I'm not finding one. I've lost Ginsburg. I don't even know where that guy is right now.
Dave, haven't I taught you anything? Do what I do. Pre-book your entire month's worth of game day parking with the Grid Park app. It's super easy to use and saves me both time and stress.
Well, Drew, I'm not independently wealthy like you are. So I'm sorry that I don't have millions of dollars to pre-book my parking month in advance. What's that going to cost you? $25?
How about $5?
Come on, $5? No way.
$5. I'm not telling you a lie. And our listeners can get a free park with the new special promo code Illegal Curve. Guess what? There's more.
Come on, there's more, Drew. You're lying to me. What more could there be?
Grid Park now has underground parking, so my car can stay warm during the game.
So wait a second. All the driving around I do, looking for parking, minus 40, you're telling me I could be toasty warm in a car after the hockey game?
That's exactly what I'm telling you. Underground parking. Just download the Grid Park app. That's GRYD Park and use the code Illegal Curve. All one word. You'll park for free your first time.
Hi, it's Drew from Illegal Curve here. Selling your home can be stressful, but it wasn't for me. Thanks to my friends at Zappia Group Realty, they made the process so easy. My home sold within 48 hours and with multiple offers. Zappia Group Realty took care of everything with their exquisite customer service and attention to detail. If you want to sell your home for more in less time, get started by talking to Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Online at zappiagroup.com.
For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the Illegal Curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com. Bottom of the hour. Welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Hopefully my voice won't go out on me before the end of the
You just hit
broadcast.
puberty, Drew. Mazel tov.
Mazel tov. It's only been 41 years. It was about time. I knew eventually it was going to happen. No, I felt like my voice is just on the verge of going for like the last couple of days. But there haven't been that many shows because of the soft schedule. So fortunately, my voice has been able to get a little bit of rest and relaxation. But of
Maybe
course,
it's all that karaoke you've been doing.
well, I do like to belt out I Would Do Anything for Love, but I Won't Do That by Meatloaf, and that's a really hard song
Is
to
that
sing.
your go-to karaoke?
Well, Ezzy, I do anything for love, but I won't do that. No, I won't do that. Now, the question is, what is that, of course, but that's a separate issue that we'll never find out, I think, because I believe Meatloaf passed away recently.
Did he? I didn't hear that.
I thought he did. I don't think I'm killing Meatloaf right now. I've killed a Meatloaf, and one,
I was going to say, you've probably eaten a meatloaf recently, but
I thought Meatloaf died. I'm now going to have to Google that. See, it didn't take long for the nonsense portion of tonight's program to start it off. I thought Meatloaf died. Yes, he
pass
did.
away.
He
Yeah.
did in
He passed away
January.
a year ago. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. See, I wasn't wrong about that. That's too bad. I did enjoy the good some of his tunes. A little bit Paradise by the Dashboard Light, if you will, things of that nature. And so, unfortunately, we have lost poor Meat, and we'll remember him fondly as I sing my karaoke songs. What I was going to say is that Saturday morning, the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, 9 a.m. back here on our YouTube channel, and then later on that evening, of course, after the Jets and the Nashville Predators, another epic matchup. So that'll be a very interesting post-game show back here later on Saturday night that you guys can all schedule your days around that, because I'm sure that's what you all do, is schedule your days around your viewing of Illegal Curve broadcast.
No, but I think people schedule their days around the Jets game.
Yes.
And then we're part of that.
There's no question we are.
So we got our IC Nation coming back.
Yeah.
We got Phyllis coming back. We got everybody coming back. Kenny's Water Bottle, Spency, Dom Zappia, the whole crew, everybody. Unless people have other plans after the game.
But they can't have that.
Yeah, we got our crew here.
That's hard to believe that they would have plans after the game. Here's some post-game quotes coming out of the Winnipeg Jets dressing room. Pierre-Luc Dubois on his run-in with Flames goaltender Jacob Markstrom, who squirted water on him. By the way, if you're a goalie and you're squirting water on a player, the player should be able to just take a free shot at you.
I was going to say, yeah, he's lucky that he didn't get punched in the face.
I was going to say, Dubois said, I don't really care about that. It's water. I drink it. I shower in it like everybody else. It's just water. What I didn't like is the punch in the back of the head. That's a pretty reasonable thing. I wouldn't like getting punched in the back of the head either. Goalies getting a little bit too big for their britches when it comes to some of the physicality.
And you're talking about big. I mean, Markstrom's 6'6".
Oh yeah, he's a big boy.
Markstrom is a big boy. I mean, Hellebuck's not a short guy either. But yeah, Markstrom, I mean, he was asking for it, and he should have. I forget if he got a minor or a double minor there, but it turned out that it was offsetting. But yeah, him and Dubois were going at it. Him and Lowry were going at it. Morrissey, but yeah, you like to see that. I mean, these teams are battling for a playoff spot. I mean, look at you're risking going to the penalty box. Obviously, Markstrom doesn't sit in the penalty box. Someone serves the penalty for him, but I love to see that type of stuff.
I like the intensity of it all, but if you're a goalie, being a goalie in situations like that, if you're not fair game, it's like being a kicker in football. Just do your job, kick the ball, save the puck, whatever it is, and then stay out of the way. If you're not fair game, you shouldn't be allowed to fight. That sort of thing. It's like a kicker celebrating. You're a kicker, just go away. You get to celebrate when you make the game-winning field goal or something, and other than that, nobody ever wants to hear from you.
Unless you're talking about Westy, of course.
Well, I mean, Westy didn't talk during the game when he wasn't going to get hit. Westy was great for a post-game quote or the Banjo Bowl stuff, but he knew that when between the lines, if you yap too much, you're gonna lose that battle pretty well. Pierre-Luc Dubois on Winnipeg Jets fans. I'm sure they're disappointed tonight, but we felt their energy and we felt them out there. The season's not over yet. We have 2 more big games coming up at home before finishing the season on the road. We are going to need them more than ever. To which I would say to Pierre-Luc Dubois and the rest of the Jets dressing room, the fans want to cheer. Fans want to cheer. Give them the requisite effort and the requisite results, and the fans will cheer accordingly.
Right. And actions speak louder than words, right?
Yeah,
and we all know that, right? Like, you can take a lot of these quotes and you can almost just put them in any game of the year, right? Like put this quote at game 32 of the season when the Jets lost or whatever, right? Like, so I mean, this game on Saturday, and it goes back to what we said, right? Like on that road trip, if you beat San Jose, then you've got an extra couple points, and then the Flames aren't tied with you. Or if you won one of those games against Columbus, or point to any of the disappointing losses for the Jets over the last 3 months, right? So that's why, the Jets continue to make it hard on themselves. And so of the Flames, I mean, the Predators are really the only team that wasn't supposed to be here, right? Like the Jets and the Flames were supposed to be playoff teams at the beginning of the year. Maybe more people thought that the Flames had a better chance of contending, but we know that the Jets were, right at the top of the Central Division, right at the top of the Western Conference in January, and it's been a really slow decline here. So yes,
death by about 10,000 cuts, not 1,000
right.
cuts.
So I mean, they have to take care of business and beat Nashville on Saturday. But like you said, I mean, it remains to be seen which team we're going to see, right? Like, are we going to see the team from the first period? Are we going to see the team from the third period?
Or the team the team that played against New Jersey, or the team that played against, forget about Detroit, the team that played against New Jersey. If you play like that, against the Devils team, that's a pretty damn good hockey team. You got to find a way to take that effort and replicate that effort, which the Jets were unable to do tonight again with the golden opportunity against the Calgary Flames. Ezzy, you got a Tough Duck hardest hitting comment for me?
Yeah, we're going to give it to, hold on a second, I had it up here. We're going to give it to, I hope I'm pronouncing the last name. Obviously, Glenn, only one way to pronounce that, but Glenn Petrie, or
I would say Petrie would be my guess.
Petrie, maybe a Petrie dish. This comment. Doesn't get any more harder hitting than this. There's Jets forwards that clearly shy away from going hard to the net. Look at Morrissey. That is what is needed, especially in the playoffs. We talked about it. PLD, he was going hard to the net. Adam Lowry was going hard to the net. Nino Niederreiter was going hard to the net, but there just wasn't enough of that in the third period. And I like that comment. So Glenn, send me an email, ezra@illegalcurve.com, and Tough Duck will ship out a toque to you. And I'm not sure if anybody noticed there was a blizzard outside today, so you're still going to need it too. Like I was shoveling. I like to be.
I was going to ask you, would you see? I won't shovel this. I refuse.
No, well, I have to because
you got the back lane
is a little bit different, right? You have a driveway.
Yeah,
I'm not loaded like you are, Drew. I just have a regular garage here in River Heights. I'm not living it up like you are. But I have to, because if I don't shovel behind our garage, we could get stuck.
Yeah.
But I'm out there shoveling. And I'm thinking to myself, like, it's April 5th. And there was this blizzard last year around the second week of April, right?
Well, don't you remember what happened to Passover last year?
Yes.
For a lot of families, Passover got canceled because that was supposedly when we were getting the Armageddon 50 centimeters of snow.
That never came.
Well, it did come, but what had happened, it was like 25 centimeters, then like a 12-hour break, and then another 25 centimeters.
Oh, the first one. I thought I remember there was a second blizzard.
Remember they canceled school for all the kids. The Jets. Right. Remember the Jets were supposed to play at home, and they canceled the Jets game, and the team flew to Florida. And that was they were supposed to play the Kraken at home, and the team left Winnipeg ahead of time to avoid the storm, and that's why that Kraken game got rescheduled for after the end of the regular season. Remember, that was Passover last year where that storm was supposed to be.
I've just accepted that in Manitoba we get like 8 months of winter and we get like 3 weeks of summer.
Well, it's generally about that. Now, Doug is saying, how does Passover get canceled? Passover didn't get canceled, but our Passover family
Seder's got canceled. Yeah, we still had ours.
Yeah.
We had ours at our house last year. We're not doing it this year. We're doing it at our mother-in-law's. But I remember last year we were like, is this even going to happen? Like, are people going to be able to drive to our house? It's ridiculous. But the good thing is it's supposed to be nicer next week, and all of this crap will melt.
Yeah, there you go. From your lips to God's ears, as the old saying goes there, Mr. Ginsburg. Let's go with the Illegal Curve merchandise contest. That rolls on here for the final few regular season games. If you haven't yet entered the Illegal Curve merchandise contest, the way to do so is go to the drop-down arrow on the YouTube channel, click the contest link. You'll see a whole lot of things you can do to earn entries into the merchandise contest. One of those things is enter the unique code word that can only be found here on the Illegal Curve post-game show or the podcast edition of the show. Today's unique code word, I believe entering this will get you 10 bonus entries in honor, of course, of Passover. Part the Red Sea. not CSEA, but C as in C for Calgary.
It's a good one.
Part the red letter C is tonight's unique code word for the Illegal Curve contest. Enter that. You can win some great Winnipeg Jets merchandise courtesy of us here at Illegal Curve. Much like today's winner, I always like when it's just a one-name winner, Chixie. Congratulations to Chixie. I'm guessing Chixie's a woman. Maybe Chixie's a man. I'm really not sure.
Is that a combination of Chicks and Dixie?
I really don't know what Chixie is, but it's a username or it's a first name or it's a name or Chixies are for kids, silly rabbit, whatever it might be. Chixie is the winner of today's Illegal Curve merchandise contest. Congratulations to Chixie. They are a good person, as Rob Mahoney likes to put up on the screen all the time. So Dave M, when he's done his Passover Seder in roughly another 6.5 hours, as the Manouk family,
the Manouks go late.
They go late. I won't have that will not fly in the Mindell household whatsoever. But all the power.
The kids have to
them.
go to bed. You got to start a Seder relatively early, like 6:37.
Well, that would be a reasonable hour. We started around 5:45. Again, there's a lot of young children there, but the Manouk family likes to wait. They like to,
they party. The Manouks party.
Yeah, they like to be superior to us. They actually wait till sundown happens so that they can actually usher in Passover properly, like the rules say you're supposed to do. No. That's not for our family. We like to have it more of a social gathering. Get that thing wrapped up and the kids into bed at a nice, reasonable hour. But that's where Dave M is tonight.
You like to have a few glasses of Manischewitz. I like it.
Do you drink Manischewitz, or do you get like a better kosher for Passover wine on the table?
We don't have we did have Manischewitz. I think we used all of it last year because we had the Seder at our house. But You know what? I'm not a big wine drinker. We've talked about this before, Drew. You know me.
Yeah.
I'm more of a beer guy. But so Manischewitz to me is fine. A lot of people think it's too sweet.
It's very sweet.
But it's classic. I mean, you don't get any more Passover than Manischewitz, right? It's like one of those things that just has to be somewhere in the room or on the table, but not everybody necessarily drinks it, right? Because there obviously is better wine. Like there's good wine from Israel and stuff like that. But I just, for me, Manischewitz, can take it or leave it.
There you go. Stay tuned for our new segment on the show. Ezzy reviews wines, in which he only says, "This isn't beer."
Yeah. Let's get Ben Sigurdsson on here if he still writes for the Free Press. He's the guy that knows about the wines. But yeah, once in a while I'll have red wine. But speaking of headaches, I usually get a headache if I drink too much wine, and then I just want to go to bed.
Yeah, well, there you go. Fair enough. As opposed to when you drink too much beer and then you just want to go to bed,
stay up all night
because you've passed out, in a face down in your own clothes or something like that. In any event, congratulations to everyone who has won on tonight's Illegal Curve post game show. As we remind you, Saturday morning, the Illegal Curve hockey show. I know Craig Button's going to join us. Is that right, Mr. Ginsburg?
Craig's going to come on. Yeah, we're gonna talk about the Jets, obviously, and we'll talk about the playoff races. But we also have the draft that's not too far away, right? It's only a couple of months away. Craig came out with the most recent Craigslist, so we'll talk to him about that. Connor Bedard absolutely ripping it up, and obviously,
you think he's going to go first overall?
I'm not sure. We'll see what Craig says. No, obviously, it's unbelievable. Connor Bedard's basically getting like 2 points every period.
Yeah.
And we have to give a shout out to the Winnipeg Ice, who have swept the Medicine Hat Tigers. They're going to go on to the second round.
Did they win tonight? Is it over?
I think it is, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure it was.
I'm not sure. I've been doing something else.
It's got to be over. It's 10-11, right? So yeah, they're into the second round.
Okay, if you say so. I hope that's not another one of those Ginsburg guarantees, because we know how poorly.
No, that's a fact. That's a fact. Daniel Dale doesn't have to fact check that.
Okay, there you go. You're right. 3-2. The Winnipeg Ice have won tonight, so they are into the second round. It's worth noting though that Connor Bedard and the Regina Pats, who were an underdog in the first round. Last time I think they won the opening 2 games.
They did
against Saskatoon, right?
Yep.
And I'm not sure where that series is at, but if the Pats end up winning that series, they very well could be coming to Winnipeg to face the Ice in the second round. And if that were to happen, that means that Connor Bedard, who actually did not play in Winnipeg at all this year, would presumably play a number of games for the Pats in Winnipeg. And I'm sure that more than one person would be interested in watching Connor Bedard come play some playoff games against the Winnipeg Ice. He's single-handedly trying to carry the Pats through to make a bit of a playoff push, because that Regina Pats team is really Bedard and then a bunch of other guys.
So we got a few people here. T-Cone Apolli. T-Cone is always bailing us out here. The Pats are up 2-1 in the series, but they're actually in overtime as we speak now.
That's what I'm saying. It's 3-3 at the end of regulation. So if the Pats were to win tonight, then they would be up with a fairly commanding 3-1 lead. And it'd be interesting to see what happens there if all of a sudden the Regina Pats are in Winnipeg to face the Ice in the second round of a WHL playoff matchup. But time will tell on that front, and we'll, of course, keep you abreast of everything to do with the Ice, the Moose, and the Winnipeg Jets Saturday morning here on the YouTube channel. And then, of course, all the time updated as necessary on illegalcurve.com. Want to say a big thank you to all of our sponsors, our friends. There you go. Frosty Winnipeg's already got it up. Our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Linden Market Dental Center. That's Dr. Les Rikus and the great team there. Zappia Group Realty, Betway, Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, Grid Park, and The Keg support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. Jets miss an opportunity. They lose 3-1 to the Calgary Flames. We'll be next in action Saturday morning at 9 a.m. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast, leave us feedback here, there, and everywhere. We always like to hear what you have to say about the fine programs we put forth for you, our loyal viewing and listening audience. Ezzy, thanks so much for joining me this morning. We'll see you again on Saturday morning. For Mr. Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Happy Passover, happy Easter, whatever you're celebrating this weekend. Make sure it's a safe one. We'll see you on Saturday morning. Until then, we wish you good night and good luck, and thanks for watching the Illegal Curve postgame show.